Our scripture this morning is from Romans 13, verse 10. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. Romans 13, verse 10. My father, he's a physician. He had an old medical bag when I was a kid. And I think he got it from his uncle, who was also a physician. And it had this staff on it. Staff, single, snake. And he told me when I was a kid that that's called a caduceus. And I found it a little menacing. I thought, well, that's counterintuitive. Why would a snake represent healing? It gives me the creeps. They don't have legs. So I kind of found that disturbing. And then years later, when I was in high school, I would sometimes go on rounds with him to a clinic. And this one day in particular, I'll never forget this, this lady in her hospital bed just grew out of her bed. And she said, "Dr. Morgan, you're here." And I swear every purported affliction she had just melted away. She was totally fine from then on. You see, my father has a gift of pitch perfect bedside manner. Absolutely pitch perfect. He was not a religious man. He's a self-prescribed atheist, but he took the Hippocratic Oath as the gospel. The Hippocratic Oath, it's short, and by the way, a full recent version is printed in the back of the bulletin if you'd like to see it at some time later. But in essence, it boils down to these three ideas. In purity and according to divine law, I will carry out my life and my art. Whatever I see or hear in the lives of my patients, whether in connection with my professional practice or not, which ought not be spoken of outside, I will keep secret, as considering all such things to be private. And I will do no harm or injustice to them. So, in short, the Hippocratic Oath says, align with divine law, honor privacy, do no harm. Wonderful, wonderful words to live by. To which my father did. He basically, in his medical career, did no harm. Yet he, in his wisdom, was incorrect. You may have caught it already. The healing staff with one snake is actually called the rod of Asclepius. He's the Greek god of medicine. So it's not the two-snaked one, which is the caduceus, it's the single, the rod of Asclepius. But nevertheless, I decided to bury this decades-old mistake on my father's part. And I called him when I tested positive for COVID a few weeks ago, because he has perfect bedside manner. COVID, in its Delta form, came creeping to my wife and I when we entertained a young family member several weeks ago, and he was just shy of being 12 years old. He almost got vaccinated, but he couldn't. They came to visit. He didn't know it at the time, but when he and my sister-in-law returned to Miami, of course, he tested positive, and of course, we were all infected. I'm no longer contagious, and I'm back. But when I relayed these symptoms to my father, I wanted him to know just, of course, I wanted some healing from him, but I kind of went through the general feelings of fatigue, and then I had chills for 24 hours and a severe headache for 36 hours, and fuzzy brain. So fuzzy brain's going to come back in, you'll see. I'm not sure I'm quite out of it. And it's kind of like having a reaction to the second, an extended reaction to the second vaccine, if that happened to you. But the most curious sensation was my wife and I, we have a friend who started a vegetarian taco stand. So we ordered in, had him leave it at the front and brought it inside the house. And we've never tasted them. And she started this in DuPont Circle and then had a brick and mortar business, still does, in Georgetown, and another one in 14th Street. So she's doing very well. They're apparently quite popular. And we ordered in, got some iced tea as well, and we started eating them. And my wife said, after a bite or two, she said, are the eggplant ones, are they really spicy? I went, no, I don't think so, not really. And I said, I actually think they could use a little salt. Put a little salt, keep nibbling away. And I said, I actually think they need hot sauce. So I got the Tabasco and was tasting it. And I went, well, I don't know, forgive me, but I don't think they're very good. I don't know what the big buzz is about this. How come she'd be doing so well? And she's a friend of the family. Our daughters grew up together. I go, what do we say next time we see her? Well, let's try the iced tea. I tried the iced tea. I said, oh, a little liquidy too. And my wife ordered kombucha, which is very strong. And then in sloth time, it dawned on us. Oh, we have lost our sense of taste and smell. And then we ran around the kitchen like chickens, finding coffee, nothing. I have some scotch. No, nothing. Pickles, nothing. To this day, it's been a week now, I cannot taste and I cannot smell. It is an absolutely strange sensation that carries with it not just a metaphysical lesson, but a metaphysical experience. And I want to elaborate on that. Charles Fillmore has written extensively about moving our consciousness away from sense-oriented thoughts and feelings to spiritually oriented thoughts and feelings. And I understood that intellectually. I go, yeah, sure, we should all do that. But now it's different, because now for more than a week, I am down 2 of the 5 major senses. I'm functioning 3 out of 5 here. And at first it was funny, like in the story. And then I have to admit, it has bouts of major sadness, because quite honestly, what if it doesn't come back? I may always be 3 out of 5. And then that metaphysical gift starts to come in. It's not so much that I feel like I'm living in one side of the veil or the other side of the veil. To me, the most remarkable gift is that it feels like I'm in the veil. That funny place between the dimensions. And I can't say it has sharpened my mediumship or given me the gift of prophecy. I don't know what's going to happen to y'all. And that's actually good. I prefer that. It's just simply changed my earthly awareness. It's what am I like without fewer sensory demands? And I mean that as a question. Scott, what are you like without fewer sensory demands? And also a statement. I'm learning what I'm like without fewer sensory demands. And as one of the glories of being metaphysicians is that we live in the veil. Not one side or the other. We are the fold itself, constantly aware of other dimensions. And the caduceus represents this process, the 2-snaked one, a slithering metaphor throughout. One snake being physical, sensory, the other being eternal and spiritual, a symbol of renewal, rebirth, knowledge, temptation, kundalini energy. All of this is represented by this snake. To Asclepius, it actually represented the demon and the genius. And a good Asclepius scholar, his name is Carl Karenyi, says that cure is accomplished by balancing the dark, hidden, cold forces with the warm, radiant stirrings of the new that lurk underneath the surface, just like a snake sheds its skin. In fact, there's a very interesting frieze, a relief, a Greek one, that depicts a patient being licked back to health by a snake with a dual tongue, no less. So there's harmony here, dark and mysterious, but always life-affirming. And as you may have recognized, the two-headed snake, the caduceus staff, the two-snaked caduceus staff, is actually the staff of a very famous metaphysician, Hermes Trismegistus. Not just the classifier of the 7 basic divine laws, but the discoverer of alchemy. And I don't mean the water into wine or the coal into diamonds kind of alchemy, which is also curious because the caduceus is sometimes a symbol of commerce. Nor do I actually even mean the health condition change. I mean the real stuff. I mean the core change, the changing of our mental condition, the changing of our awareness into another awareness. That's exactly what the snake is the master of. Transformation. So no wonder the snake represents healing. No wonder Hermes had a staff with 2 snakes. And now, after reading about this, to my father's credit, the US Army Medical Corps mistakenly adopted the double snake in 1902, thinking it was the rod of Asclepius. So for over 100 years, the common confusion lies. Now, this is all to say that healing is a combination of 2 modalities, the physical and the spiritual, the NyQuil and the quietude, chemotherapy and kinesthetics, medicine and meditation. Remember this when we send healing to another, or we require self-healing for ourselves. Healing happens between the 2 snakes. It's not one form or another. It's the rod itself, the staff itself. It's the veil itself, where the dimensions meet. I found the old medical bag in my father's closet just last month when I went visiting for Father's Day. The seal is long gone, but he was correct all along. The medical symbol of healing, the single snake rod of Asclepius, really is more like the double snake staff of a metaphysician. My father's gift was far more than just a creed to do no harm. It was a multi-dimensional shift that he saw. He saw us as fine. He saw us, we were okay. We were whole. He saw us beyond suffering as a metaphysician. And that's what made the lady grow out of her bed and praise his presence. Love does no harm to a neighbor and is therefore the fulfillment of the law, is the scriptural version of the Hippocratic Oath. Live in divine law and do no harm. So when we love, when we do no harm, we're not just being good people. We are manifesting, literally physicalizing the promise and power of divine law. We are putting healing in action. So bless you, my heroes, for healing between the snakes, for doing no harm, for living in the fold of the veil.